Matthews thinks Robert Mueller's investigation is heading towards a bleak future for the White House. And he's also looking back at a political pioneer we lost far too soon in his new book, Bobby Kennedy, A Raging Spirit, which is currently #1 on Amazon. Please welcome Chris Matthews.
Thank you. Right.
So, Chris, you know...
it's sort of related, too, because Bobby is everything we don't have right now.
Yeah, that spirit.
I know. Well, speaking of that, Paul Manafort, the opposite of Robert Kennedy.
I know.
His former Trump's
The poor guy, when I first saw him, I thought he was a croupier. Didn't you think? He just seemed like he's used to casino life. I don't know what it was.
I think it's the dyed hair, maybe.
There was something about the Lounge Act. I don't know. Anyway,
he's pled not guilty.
Yeah, I know.
To the conspiracy charges that you would say, as you would say on your show. Thoughts?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I say it.
Your thoughts?
Look, you have as much insouciance as I'll ever have. Look, I think the weirdest thing about I worked in politics, as everybody knows, for years. And then I worked in print journalism, and I've been in this TV thing for 15 years now. 20 years now, actually. And I never met a Russian. Okay, I'm sort of a regular American guy. I don't meet a lot of Russians. They're way over on the other side of the world. They speak a totally different language.
Well, they're in Brooklyn. They're in Brighton Beach.
Well, there's some.
Ton of them there.
Good point. Good point. So I keep wondering, why is this guy always dealing with people like there's Manafort, a Russian guy, Carter Page, a Russian guy. He's sort of the Kalo Caitlin of this thing. You don't know what Carter does, but he's sort of around the house, you know. And then you got Michael Flynn having dinner with who has dinner with Putin? And all these people hanging around with the Russia, and it's always Russia, Russia, Russia. And I go, there's something here. Guess. I think. The big economic thing behind it all, I think, is Russia is a dying empire. They've got gas and oil, and they've got a security force, secret police, the new KGB. So what are we hearing from? They're always trying to spend some over here, buy some influence, buy guys like Manafort, buy Carter Page, get into our pockets, try to influence our politics so that we don't talk about climate change. We go back to fossil fuels. We go back to their gas station again. That's what they want. This is all economics.
I don't get the climate change issue. Doesn't everyone have to breathe?
They want to sell their gas because they don't make anything in Russia. They don't know how to build anything.
Yeah, it's true.
People make stuff by buying Russian stuff and breaking it down to its original stuff because they don't have anything to sell. We're an original. We innovate. We do that stuff here.
We used to about money.
Let me ask you, do you believe that this investigation will be the end of the Trump presidency?
Well, let me look at it this way. If this guy's done anything illegal, Mueller's going to find it. Mueller, I mean, I'm not usually impressed by these Ivy League and prep school resumes, but this guy's got them all beat. And he's got the military background, not a hair out of place. He walks around lugging that 50-pound attaché case, and he always leans into it, you know, to show how much stuff he's got in there. And I'm looking at him, he's like Columbo, too, you know, he's like, just one more question.
Yeah.
You got one more thing, I'm sorry. And I just get the feeling that he's not going to stop. By the way, they say, I'm not going to let him cross the red line. I'm sorry, Mr. President, there is no red line. If you read the mandate for the special prosecutor, you know, lawyer,
very broad.
Attorney, it says anything any criminal matter that arises from the investigation, just arise or did arise from it.
Yeah.
So anything they get his tax returns. They go.
Do they get Trump's tax
I
returns?
understand you don't have to ask permission.
Yeah, I mean, they are running the investigation. They should be able to.
Well, Bobby
subpoena.
went back and went after Giancotta and all those guys. He brought Mortimer Kaplan in from UVA as a law professor, and they said from day one, we're going to catch the mafia guys. We're going to use tax returns the way they got Capone.
Right.
And it was totally illegitimate, you know? So I assume he's got them.
Okay.
One of the things I remember when I was little is going to your college tours. People don't know this.
Your dad was great. Your dad in Clemson was a rock star.
But
when he came in, by the way, before the W people trashed him. No, everything about your mother and about your adopted sister and all that stuff, it was horrible what they did to your dad. By the way, you and I, we were all rooting for your dad.
It's a dark part of political
we were all
history,
rooting
for
for
sure.
him, yeah.
But I will say, the question I have for you is, do you still think in like a time when comedians are resistant to go to college campuses, do you think it's still worth it for you to go around with candidates and do these college tours?
Yeah, it costs a lot of money, but it's worth doing. I love it. You know, Biden. If I could get Biden tomorrow, if I could get a couple. If I get Elizabeth Warren, there's 4 or 5 people they'll pay for. You know, you just have to have a big guest. McCain in a minute.
Well,
we're there tomorrow.
I'll put in a good word.
We'll get the $250,000. I mean,
It's a really interesting
it
part.
costs a lot. See, look at this room. You're used to professional lighting. Lighting costs a fortune.
Yeah,
What
on the
we're in a
road.
room like that, you know, it looks like an old Italian movie if you don't do it right. It's just film noir, you know. But this room, you can see every face in this room right now.
Why do you think we look so gorgeous?
Right?
What do you think of all
lighting.
It's the big price you pay when you go
So
somewhere.
let's talk
What do
about
you
your
think?
book,
Oh,
because
Sure.
it's only a
I'm
short,
ready
you don't
to.
have a lot of time with you. So you've written and you've studied the Kennedys for years,
Yeah.
right? I know you always talk about them on your show. And your book, is there anything juicy out of the JFK? No, not in the book necessarily, although there might
I think,
be.
you know, I think
The JFK files I was referring to.
the files.
What's coming out
The
now?
only thing I found in there, because I think, you know, Jerry Bruno was Kennedy's advance man, and he said pretty soon after Dallas that it was very hard to put a conspiracy together because they didn't know where the motorcade was going that day. So you get into the conspiracy, the Albert Stone stuff, you got to say, wait a minute, you mean they took the president to Harvey Oswald? I mean, that's not believable.
Well, there was
But-
some implication, some idea that Oswald might have been working with the CIA. That's
let me
one
tell you,
thing.
No, the first thing Bobby did,
Yeah.
he loved his brother more than anybody, you know,
Right.
he was totally, first thing he did was he thought it was a Southern racist because everybody thought it was something to do with going down to Texas. You know,
Okay.
they were spitting on Adlai Stevenson, they were doing everything, they said he's a traitor and all that stuff, and that wasn't the case. They found it was this disappointed, disillusioned, misfit communist. And then he worried about the CIA being involved. So he brings in McCone and Catholic to Catholic, on your soul, swear that this had nothing to do with it. So he thought that too. Then he got all the piles of evidence.
How about the mob?
Ballistics
How about
and
the mob?
fingerprints, and it was all, just a minute, I'll get to that. Because
All right.
he thought that, and then he gets, it was Lee Harvey Oswald, but then was he a patsy? You know, the ballistics matched the fingerprints, but was he a patsy? That's what he said he
for
was. When he,
someone else.
remember when he was arrested? He said,
Right.
I'm a patsy.
Yeah.
So all through his life, Bobby would say he did it over in Poland. He did it when he campaigned in '68. I believe it's Lee Harvey Oswald. He acted this all by himself. His brother said that in his last book, Teddy, before he died. So they publicly, on the record, it was Oswald. But Ted Sorensen was very close to family. He said in his book at the end that he had this doubt in his mind, like any brother would. Here's Bobby. He's going after Giancana, the mobsters, going after a mafia
Who
guy.
supposedly helped him get elected, his brother.
Well, they did help.
Yeah,
Giancana, the old
Giancana
man,
helped,
Well,
right.
there's so many problems here. First of all, Jack's sleeping with Giancana's girlfriend. That's a problem.
That's
Yeah.
a big problem.
Okay, and Bobby has to end that relationship. Then he's got to end the relationship with Sinatra, who was mobbed up, has to end that
Well,
relationship.
that's an allegation against Sinatra. You're talking to the Sinatra.
You can walk home safely tonight.
Just an allegation.
You protected yourself.
I did that for my
You can
Aunt
still
Julie,
work
okay?
at small
Yeah.
clubs in Jersey. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so there was all this problem. The mob, they hired Giancana to kill Castro. I mean, all this stuff. And all the time, Bobby's prosecuting Giancana, going after him with everything he's got.
That was a mistake. That's like biting the hand that
Well,
just fed your brother the election.
Not only did when he'd get him in his hearings before the Rackets Committee, he would say, Giancana would be giggling out there. He said, I thought just little girls giggled, Giancana. He taunted the guy.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that put people on meat hooks. Remember on the waterfront? That was him. Put the guys on the meat hooks and
was
killed them.
feisty.
He was a
Yeah.
hitman.
He was feisty.
And he was messing with it. Well,
Kennedy
more than
was
messing with
feisty.
his girlfriend, he was with his girlfriend. And there's 70 phone calls. J. Edgar Hoover gets a hold of this. He warns Jack, you better end this relationship.
What I want
But
is
Bobby
just a
all the time was trying to
podcast
clean up
of
the
you
mess.
explaining this.
go.
I want you just to explain all of JFK on a
Yeah.
podcast so
Yeah.
I can listen to it. 'cause you're
That would
doing
be
it
good
well.
because we've run out of time in this
Seriously.
segment.
Thank you.
Well, but this, look up, just look into, read this book, but look into JFK. The whole era was so
It's
fascinating.
fascinating.
And what happened in those days, that was just something. So our thanks to Chris Matthews. Members of the audience are getting a copy of the book. God bless.